Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight to it. Now, this is going to be part 2 of Are the Jewish People the Israelites of the Bible? In part 1, we talked about, whether the Jewish people today are Israelites, and the answer is no. Right, this is absolutely not. But today we're going to further prove this. This will be 3 parts. Like I said in part 1, I knew it was going to at least be 2, but as I was going through everything, I realized I really wanted to do a part 3 as well. Today's lesson, we're going to be going over more of the false Jewish doctrines that they have to prove that they aren't the children of Israel. Okay, in part 3, which is, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good lesson. We're going to go over from a historic and a scriptural standpoint of how we are children of Israel and really go through that. But for now, let's deal with these demonic doctrines that these so-called Jewish people have today. Let's get First Thessalonians. I started with this last time. I say, I'll just start with this again. Let's get First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21.
God's the book of First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good.
And, there are a lot of customs in the so-called churches today and religions, but, speaking of the Jewish people, so-called Jewish, no one ever asks if these customs are in the scriptures that they carry out. Nobody tries to prove if these doctrines actually hold true and to see if they really are the children of Israel. Nobody really tries to prove that. They just accept it as truth. And just because millions or even billions of people believe something to be true, it doesn't mean that it's actually true. It still has to be proven true, whether, billions of people believe it or not. Matter of fact, normally when you have, billions or billions of people believe in, something like this, is normally actually false. We know Matthew 7 tells us that the kingdom is a narrow path. The path to the kingdom is a narrow path. All right. So let's get the next scripture. Let's get Sirach chapter 4, and then let's get verse 28.
It's the book of Sirach chapter 4 and verse 28. Strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee.
So really, to be of the truth, you got to strive for the truth constantly. Okay. Which this world is not programmed to do. We just accept whatever's told to us without trying to prove, if that's true or not, and striving for the truth and, caring about the truth and doing what it takes, dividing the word of truth. Okay. And Lord willing, we'll be able to do this until our death. We'll strive for the truth. And let's do that, man. Let's expose these imposters, man. Let's do that right now. So I pulled up this same article from last time just so we can kind of get a visual, because I really don't have that much with actually showing these folks. So this is who they want you to believe Abraham looked like, who Jacob looked like. This is what they want you to believe, man. You see that? This man looked like the devil himself. All right, this is not the children of Israel. All right, look at this. This man got on a scalp do-rag. That's nowhere in the scriptures. All right, look at him like he snoring something up or something. All right, that's the so-called black man back there. I'm just not seeing that. Anyways, man. Don't want anything else on this.
Man, that's on George Clooney there.
That's what it looked like. Where are you coming from, huh? But I just wanted to use this article again so we can see who are posing to be the children of Israel today, but they are not, like the scriptures tell us, man. And this false ideology and doctrine known as Judaism, which is nowhere in the Bible. Okay, find me this in the Bible. Where's the scriptures? Where's the breakdown for Judaism? Where the Most High tell us to be a part of Judaism? Okay, it's nonsense. Let's get 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and We start at verse 7, and you work your way down on the 9.
God's book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then that wicked, Salakia, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders.
So the workings of Satan is going to have power and signs and lying wonders. Okay. Lying wonders and signs that you're going to believe is true, but it's not. It's deceit, man. You know, and that wicked is going to be revealed, and it's being revealed more and more in these last days by the so-called Jewish man himself. He putting himself out there really for what I believe to be different purposes than what the mainstream media will allow you to believe. But the end result is just going to be him revealing himself to be wicked, man. That's what it comes down to. There's a lot of nuance in between it, but that's what it really comes down to. He's just destroying himself. All right, like it says here in the scriptures, man, he shall destroy. It shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. That's what how shall I come to do, man? Let's get verse 10.
Verse 10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
See, we got to strive for the truth unto death, man. You understand? Deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish. Let's get verse 11.
Verse 11. And for this cause, the Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie.
So one of those lies is that the so-called Jewish of today are the children of Israel. That's one of those lies. And the Most High already told us that he was going to put this strong delusion out in the world so they would believe a lie. Okay. And, they have to put out these lies. It's just fulfilling prophecy. If you actually read the Bible, you will see that, 2nd Esdras chapter 16, so on and so forth, many prophecies where the children of Israel are really going to be, even nationally recognized, internationally recognized until the very end. That's when thy hidden ones will be revealed. Okay. So they have to do this. So they have a placeholder for people to ask the questions, who are the Israelites? All right. They have to do this, but yeah, that's a delusion, man. It's just a strong delusion being put out in the world. So you can't fall for it. Lord willing, lessons like this and research that you do on your own, you'll be able to understand that. And even deeper in just Revelation 2 and 9 and Revelation 3 and 9, you actually be able to divide the word of truth and be able to get this out the scriptures and through history. But speaking of, I say a lot of things like the so-called white man is the devil and the Jewish man is of the devil. But, it's not really my words. It's them. They saying it themselves. Let's get it out the horse's mouth. This little article here is basically a summary of different things that so-called Jewish have said. It says about Christianity and the white race, but really, the so-called Jewish man, he's trying to dominate everything. Let's get this first statement right. Matter of fact, you can get all of that right there. That first statement right there.
Khan.
It's all right there.
Khan. At the funeral of Grand Rabbi Simeon ben Judah, Rabbi Recorn makes the following revealing statement. Thanks to the terrible power of our international banks, we have forced the Christians into wars without number. Wars have a special value for Jews since Christians massacre each other and make more room for us Jews. Wars are the Jews' harvest. The Jews' banks grow fat. The Jew banks grow fat in Christian wars. Over 100 million Christians have been swept off the face of the earth by wars, and the end is not yet.
So, you could say it's just me or I'm just spewing hate speech, but this coming out the horse's mouth, man. And they've been saying this for hundreds of years. Ain't nothing changed, man. The same doctrine is being passed down, from his to his progeny, all right, from his forefathers, so-called forefathers. They believe in all the same thing, man. Thanks to the terrible power of our international banks, this is what they believe in: war, killing, becoming fat off wars. That's what they do, man. It is what it is. It says, do your homework, readers. 1924 in his book, You Gentiles, Maurice Samuel states the following: we Jews are the destroyers and will remain the destroyers. That's just 1924. Nothing you can do will meet our demands and needs. We will forever destroy because a world of our own. I don't know what you're talking about there, but Jehovah created the non-Jew in human form so that the Jew would not have to be served by beasts. The non-Jew is consequently an animal in human form and commanded to serve the Jew day and night. So they truly believe this, the so-called Jewish man. But, if we say this, if we say the scriptures say that the other nations are going to serve the Israelites, they'll just say that we're spewing, what do they call it? They call it a anti-Semitic trope. Okay, that's what they'll say. But they're saying the same thing. Nobody has checked these people. That's why we start out with 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21, because these things have to be proven. But they just say it and people accept it and they cool with it. If you go through this, it's a bunch of other so-called Jewish men and women, like Mayor Amschel Rothschild. She said that the nuclear family must be destroyed and people must find better ways of living together. You see, when you see different things going on in this world, it's, a lot of it was started by so-called Jewish people, believe it or not. We know that Black Lives Matter was founded by George Soros, right? So-called Jewish man. And, that so-called organization was designed to destroy our people. All right, to give us false messiahs, all right, and false hope. Okay, and lead us down a rabbit hole that would get us nowhere, complaining about the so-called white man, which in turn weakens weakens our people to where we're not looking for solutions. We just looking to complain. All right, while they getting fat, the so-called owners or founders buying mansions and stuff like that. They supposed to have been donating that money, so-called. George Soros, he's the one that founded that so-called organization. So, as you see, a lot of the trouble that you see on planet Earth is coming from the so-called Jewish man. And it's not me that's saying it. It's there. It's historical evidence to prove that, not just my words. So you can't come at me about it. Let's get Matthew chapter 19 and verse 23.
Cause the book of Matthew chapter 19 and verse 23. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of the Most High. It's like in the kingdom of heaven.
So a rich man can hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. Why is that? Let's get Luke chapter 16 and verse 13.
The book of Luke chapter 16 and verse 13. No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve the Most High and Mammon.
Mammon in this verse is referring to money, essentially. So you can't serve two masters. That's why a rich man, and when it says a rich man there in the context, it's referring to a rich man that has made money his idol. Okay, you can't serve two masters. If money is an idol for you, you now serve Satan instead of the Most High. And who have always served and made money in idols, so-called Jewish man. Okay. Brothers may be familiar with this book, and I believe it started as a book, and they have it published in different forms. But The Creature from Jekyll Island. This could have went with the first lesson, but we ran out of time. Essentially, it talks about the Federal Reserve and how the Federal Reserve came about. And like I was saying in part 1 as well, what people don't realize is that the Federal Reserve is not an entity that is required or needed. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to have, when it comes to our money, we're supposed to have what they call a gold standard, meaning your money is actually backed by something. You see, cash is simply just a piece of paper, literally, because they could change the value of $100 and make it the value of $10 or increase the value, whatever the case is. But you can't do that with gold. Okay. It's just a promissory note. And that's why we look at your bank account, it's just digits in it's just digits on a digital screen. All right. That's not real money. Okay. Like in the scriptures, when you see men that were considered rich, they had gold, cattle, land, maid servants, so on and so forth. Not a bunch of cash and paper. But anyways, back to this, the so-called the Federal Reserve was ran by a lot of the so-called Jewish, man. They the one that started this. So really, for the sake of time, I won't go too far into this, but that's it. That's essentially what's going on here. And I got the summary pulled up here, and also the actual book here. And it said here, centralization of control over financial resources is far advanced, and the two main focal points of this control, the Morgan Group and the Rockefeller Group. Okay, I told you about the Rockefellers, man. So them and the Morgan Group made up 1/4 of the world's wealth at that time, and that was probably conservative. I mean, think about that. Like two families making up 25% of the world's, world's wealth. That's crazy, man. But again, it's not just the money in itself; it's how you obtain the money and if it's an idol or not. And obviously, it's been an idol for these people. And this is one of the so-called founders of the Federal Reserve, Paul Warburg. Warburg, he was so-called Jewish as well. All right, Jewish banking dynasty. Just pulled up a few sources here. Goldman's, Lehman's, Rothschilds, Warburg, Stearns, Wendell's, Weinberg's, so some of the prominent Jewish families in banking. But yeah, man, I'm just giving some evidence and some different sources of information that brothers and sisters can look at, so you'll be able to stand behind the words that we say. But you know what? Let's get a classic, because really to break this down, man, you can just use classic precepts, man, because that's how really obvious it is that the so-called Jewish man is an imposter. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 1 and 2.
Come on, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
Okay, learn not the way of the heathen. So the children of Israel, the house of Israel, we are not supposed to be partaking in the customs of the heathen, of the other nations. And that's what sets the nation of Israel apart. Okay, because the children of Israel are the only nation on planet Earth in the end times that will cleave on to the Most High and His word, and not, the world. You understand? That's the difference there. But is the so-called Jewish man doing that? We're about to find out. Let's get Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8.
The book of Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach.
So a lot of the things that you see that these people do is the tradition of men and not of Yahushua, man. You get it, the philosophies that you see. It's just the rudiments of the world, really. It's not bounded in scripture at all. But they get away with it because, again, nobody tries to prove their doctrine. They just believe that they're the children of Israel, and nobody asks any questions at all. Just because a lot of people believe it, they just don't ask any questions. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to ask some questions today and prove this doctrine that they spew. And let's get Matthew chapter 15, and just for the sake of time, let's go straight to 6 because I'm only getting 1 point out of here.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15 and verse 6. And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of the Most High of none effect by your tradition.
So we know this is Yahushua talking to scribes and Pharisees. All right. And this is really going into something else, but the point I wanted to get is, thus have you made the commandment of the Most High of none effect by your tradition. So let's get some examples of that, where these people are doing the same thing as the Pharisees, essentially, even though they're heathens, and the Pharisees were actually Jews. All right, so a bar mitzvah, I think everybody has heard of a bar mitzvah before. Whether you really know what it is or not, you probably heard that before, a bar mitzvah, and you're probably thinking of, the so-called Jewish man, something that they do. So it says bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah for the girls. So it says, refer to the Jewish coming of age ritual. The word bar is used for boy, really bond, but bat bas for girl. Plural, but not mitzvah, for boys and girls, mixed gender groups, blah, blah. According to the Jewish law, before children reach a certain age, the parents are responsible for the child's actions. We even got to get all this. Here's the point, man. Where is this in the scriptures, man? This is something that they do, a major little ritual, really, but a little major little tradition that they partake in. But where is this at in the scriptures? That's a look at this. We're gonna get on that too. We're gonna definitely get on that. But look at this. This is supposed to be a bar mitzvah.
Shalaki.
Khan.
Sound like Deuteronomy 4 and 2 to me.
Man. Is that yep, we that's exactly what it is. We got that up here too. That's exactly what that is. Just adding to the word. Like I'm saying, this is just adding to the word. You can't just have your own traditions that you claim is in the scriptures, but it's not. That's the biggest part of the church system going off. It's not that with tithes. It's not that they take up money. It's that they tell you that the tithes that they're taking up is based on the law. You can't do that. They're supposed to say, look, y'all finna pay me. You finna pay the pastor and everybody else because this is a business and that's what you're paying for. Don't try to tie it to the scriptures. Now you're going off. That's adding to the word because you're trying to tie it in to the scriptures and you can't do that. All right, I can't just say I'm doing something because of the scriptures. That's literally adding to the word, and that's a sin. All right, it's a grievous sin, actually. Let's get Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4.
This is the book of Revelations, chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
All right, this is talking about Babylon. So you're supposed to come out of Babylon. Why are these folks going in it? You got the Babylonian Talmud. All right, again, you're supposed to be coming out of Babylon. Why do they have a separate book called the Talmud? Why? For what? It says the Talmud, meaning teaching, is an ancient text containing Jewish sayings, ideas, and stories. It includes the Mishnah, the oral law, and Gemara, completion. The Mishnah is a large collection of sayings, arguments, and counter arguments, all made by men. These are all made by men. This is the rudiments of the world here, like Colossians 2:8 was saying. This is all this is. And look how bad they went off on this. It says here, getting to the grips with the Talmudic text can be demanding. While it is possible to read a page of the Bible in a matter of minutes, depending on the difficulty, a page of the Talmud may take an hour or considerably more to go through with understanding. So basically, they're saying the Talmud, which is written by men, and when I say written by men, the Bible, you could say, in a sense, was physically written by man, but it was by the guidance of the Most High. All of the prophets were given a vision and a dream from an angel that got the message from the Most High to write down. But that's not what happened with the Talmud. That's literally men that came up and said, okay, this is my interpretation. This is my interpretation. This is what I think. All right, that's the rudiments of the world. That's traditions of men. You get it? But they trying to say that what they wrote was more complex than the scriptures are. You can read the scriptures, a page of the scriptures in a matter of minutes, but the Talmud, oh, they take an hour to break down, or more, considerably more. That's what they're saying, man. So, this is going off because they actually adhere to this. All of the so-called Jewish, they pretty much all adhere to this. And it's sad because people don't even realize that this is a grievous sin, that this is literally directly against the scriptures, man. They don't even realize it. Let's get John chapter 10. You know what? Let's go straight into this. This is the Blue Letter Bible Blue Letter Bible definition for Pharisees, G5330. Okay, we read about the oral law earlier. So let's just get my right here, Baba Kasha.
Khan. A sect that seems to have started after the Jewish exile. In addition to Old Testament books, the Pharisees recognized in oral tradition a standard of belief and life. They sought for distinction and praise by outward observance of external rites and by outward forms of piety, and such as ceremonial washings, fastings, prayers, and almsgiving.
So essentially, the Pharisees, why they were going off so much and why Yahushua was always on their heads, it's because they were making up their own laws. And that's exactly what the so-called Jewish man is doing. So no, I'm not saying that the so-called Jewish man are the Pharisees, because again, the Pharisees were the actual Israelites who we are. But from a standpoint of the same actions, that's exactly what they do or have been doing. Okay. That's why they call this the oral law. We got this pull up, the Mishnah, or the oral law. Okay. What I want to get from here, it says the oral law is legal commentary on the Torah, legal commentary by men, and how its commandments are to be carried out by men. What's the part I want to get down? It says associated with. Let me see. I think it said. I thought it said it was impossible. Maybe almost impossible, something like that. But basically, one part of this this article was saying it's almost impossible to understand the Torah unless you had the oral law and the Talmud and things of that nature. I remember the Sabbath, make it holy, it's clear it regards an important day, yet look for one dwelling, would merely refrain from here we go. Yeah, here we go. This is what I was looking for right here. Without an oral tradition, I don't know why that's still highlighted right there, but Without an oral, without an oral tradition, some of the Torah's laws would be incomprehensible. That's according to y'all, man. That's according to you. So they justify why they add in the scriptures, why they add in words, why they got their own oral law, why they got their own Talmud in a Babylonian Talmud, which, if you understand what happened once our people went into captivity, in the Syrian captivity, we started taking on Babylonian ways, which still seep into today. And, you know, they proud of it. They proud of taking on Babylonian ways because that's the customs that they really follow. You understand? Let's get Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5.
It's the book of Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. Trust the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding.
That's what the Babylonian Talmud is. The Talmud, the Mishnah, the oral law is leaning on your own understanding. Again, they said that the Mishnah and the Talmud was more complicated than the scriptures. Like, the scripture's easy. You can just read out a couple of minutes, but the Talmud, oh man, that takes considerably longer, an hour or longer. That's how you gonna trust in the Most High with all thine heart if you think your breakdown is more complicated, more intricate. How does that work? These are not the children of Israel, because the children of Israel trust in the Lord with all thine heart. We don't have to have another book. Okay, we don't have our own oral law. This is our law right here in the scriptures. This is what we go by. You understand? These people are imposters, and it's right here in your face. It's hidden in plain sight. All you got to do is pay attention and ask questions and prove their doctrine. Let's get 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 11.
The book of 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 11. If a man speak, let him speak as the oracles of the Most High. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which the Most High giveth, that the Most High in all things may be glorified through Yahushua Hamashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of the Most High, meaning the words of this book. That's the oracles of the Most High, not the Talmud, not the Babylonian Talmud, not the Mishnah. Okay, not an oral law. Oral meaning they just spoke words and wrote it down what they thought was right. That's basically writing your own Bible, man. That's essentially what that come down to. If I say, you know what, I'm finna go in, I'm finna say exactly what I think this mean, and I'm finna make this law and tell a bunch of my people that they gotta follow this. Do you think you is Yahushua or something? You see what I'm saying? You see how wicked that is? Because now you saying that you better than Yahushua. You know more than Yahushua. You have more wisdom than Yahushua and the angels. And ultimately, that means that you think you better than the Most High. Okay. That's why we say that's a grievous sin, man. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 1 and 2.
This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 1. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which the Lord, to go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers giveth you. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish out from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your power, which I command you.
Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, Babylonian Talmud, the Mishnah, neither shall you diminish out from it. What did they do when they said you can read a page of the Bible in a couple of minutes, a matter of minutes? They diminish in the word, man. All right. It's like they read this and was like, bet, I'm gonna do the opposite. That you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. That's not keeping the commandments. It's literally doing the opposite, which is a sin. When you transgress the law, you commit sin. All right. You know who sins or causes those to sin or is of sin? The devil. So when we say these words, man, we're not just pulling it out of nowhere. You understand? Let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9.
It's the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
There's no new thing under the sun. So all of these things that you see these people do, all right, it has an ancient origin. Okay, we about to get that. We about to spend a little time on this, but I wanted to get the proper understanding of this little black cube that these people wear. Okay, it says phylactery, Hebrew tefillin, also spelled tefillin or tefillin. In Jewish religious practice, one of two small black leather cube-shaped cases containing Torah text written on parchment, which in accordance with Deuteronomy 6 and 8, and this is what I'm talking about, like we said in part 1, what they got strapped to their head, looking like they about to go outside and mine or something, like a little flashlight, something like that. Where is this at in the scriptures, man? This is ridiculous. They say it's Deuteronomy 6 and 8, so let's see if that can be proven. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 8.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 8. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine forehead. It's like it. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand. And they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes.
Okay, so this is referring to the commandments. And these words which I command thee to say shall be in thine heart. So when it says the commandments should be in thine heart, is this referring to your actual heart as in your organs? So you open up your, you get surgery, you get your chest opened up, and then you stick the scriptures in there so it can be on your heart? Is that what it's saying? Is it saying that it should be a sign upon thine hand? You should go get a tattoo so it can be a sign upon your hand? No, and that's why it says, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes, because that's where your heart is, your mind is between your eyes. That's what this is saying. It's not saying that you literally supposed to walk around with a black cube on your head strapped around. That's not what it's saying, man. Even the biblical scholars know that. Okay, bands, phylacteries, frontlets marks. But look, even in their commentary, they know it. They're saying the same thing. Because really, what you're going to find out is that the so-called Christians and Jewish, they really be beefing, man. And it's really different classes between so-called white people as well. Whether you know that or not, they really don't like, really, a lot of them really don't like each other. But anyways, that's why they be so willing to take each other out in some of these events and stuff. But anyway, it says this is talking about the little it's not talking about the things that they wear. It's talking about what's actually going on, at least a closer approximation to it. It says this injunction, originally figurative for perpetual remembrance. See, they're saying it's figurative, was taken literally by later Jews, and hence the custom of wearing phylacteries. You see? So even they know it. They saying like this was supposed to be, in a parabolic form. However, they took it literal. So that's why they wear these things on their heads. But it's not that innocent. It's not just a misinterpretation of scriptures. You have to understand that, again, when you see these things, there's nothing new under the sun. And a lot of them have ancient pagan origins. It's not as simple as, they just read it like that. They just thought that's what it was. It says it requires proof that the Jewish phylacteries are here intended by these fillets or bandages. So even the Christian scholars on their head, man. Now, let's look at some here. It says Kabbalah. If brothers are a little bit more familiar with Islam, you know that they have this shrine here located down there in Mecca in Saudi Arabia, where you have this black box right here called a Kabbalah. And you see a lot of these words kind of coming together. But anyways, that's what that is. They all circle around and so-called pray to it 5 times a day or whatever they do in Islam. I'm trying to go back, but point is, you see, that's kind of similar to what we saw in this. It's a black cube. So where is that coming from? Like, where is this black cube coming from, man? Let's get a little history on something. For the sake of time, let's go straight to it. Zephaniah chapter 4. Salakia chapter 1, verse 4.
This book of Zephaniah, chapter 1 and verse 4. I will also stretch out mine hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, and the name of the Chimerims with the priests.
All right, so let's get this word here. The Chimerims or the Chimerims, however that is actually pronounced in the English. Let's get the word here in the Blue Letter Bible. It says idolatrous priests. This is essentially what it is, the priests of Baal. Okay, that's what it was going into. But let's look at some here. It's just interesting. So let's look at the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon breakdown here. It says use of any priest, whatever, but Sirach words relating to divine worship are in Hebrew restricted to the worship of idols. So this was, we know we had priests of Baal then and definitely now. It says, if the etymology of this word be inquired for, it is blackness, sadness, or as a concrete one who goes about in black attire, mourning, an aesthetic of priests. So these priests were essentially wearing black, more specifically all black. And why is that? Because the color associated with Saturn is known as black. It says two colors here in this article. It says the ancient color of Saturn. Okay, I'm speeding through because I see the time here. It says two colors were traditionally assigned to the planet Saturn in Western iniquity, black and yellow. You know, what's the name got that song, black and yellow, right? In the case of the four other planets known at the time, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, the colors usually assigned were essentially those perceived today by the naked eye. But this is going to, why then it was explicitly called black in a Babylonian cuneiform text. So what I'm showing here essentially is that, whether you're aware of it or not, a lot of times when you see certain celebrities or even like Catholic priests, they wear like all black, there's a reason for that. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff going on right in front of your face, but if you don't like had a history or the understanding on what's going on, it'll blow right past you. Just like things blow right past me every single day that I haven't actually had a chance to study or may not have been revealed unto me yet. So I'm not talking about everybody else and not me. I'm talking about, you know, any one of us. So, you know, like for example, if you look up Phil Knight, like Phil Knight normally is wearing all black, okay, because he is a Saturnian. All right, that's by example. Look at him. If you see most of his pictures, he always wearing all black. You know, Nike is a Saturn worshiping company. That's very obvious. But I'm about to link it back because we haven't gotten to a cube yet. Where do they get the cube from? One thing I wanted to show really quickly is that in the ancient world, they used to be able to see planets and constellations and things of that nature with just a visible eye. It says here, Saturn was one of 5 planets visible to the naked eye that have been known to exist for thousands of years. So you may be thinking like, where you even getting Saturn from? Well, that's where you get the Saturnalia from, which is the ancient pagan festival for Christmas. It was called the Saturnalia, and that's how they made the Saturn, the planet Saturn, into a god and worshipped it, because they used to look up and they would be able to see these planets like Saturn. Okay. And they end up making them gods. Just like it's described in the scriptures that you're not supposed to do that. All right. Like in Job chapter 9. You understand? And I pulled that up real quick just to show that the world is getting weaker through age. like the ancients could see more things than we could. And this is Second Esdras chapter 14, verse 16 and 17, by the way. But they could see more things that we could see actually. But why cube? Because actually right here it says cube, hexagonal feature, north pole of Saturn. There's a visible hexagon or a cube that you can see on Saturn. And that's where you get a lot of the different black cubes. What's some examples? I mean, you had like the Sega Saturn, you got the Saturn vehicle, so on and so forth. Okay, but that's where they get this so-called what do they call this thing? Phylactery from. This is where they really get it from. Okay. And again, I'm speeding through just for the sake of time, but brothers can kind of look some of these resources up if they want to. This your boy Ice Cube right here. It says a message to the entire black world. To all the black people, no matter the hue, whenever you see the black cube, it represents you. Find out why. He posted the same thing that I was talking about. Okay, the black cube of Saturn, which is, as you see in different, landmarks throughout the world, you have these black cubes, and that's where it comes from, the worship of Saturn, all right, the planet and the so-called God that they created. So they look up in the sky, they would see different planets, but really all the planets they made different gods out of, really all of them. But specifically here, Saturn, they look up, they see Saturn, then they have certain attributes that they would make, and they create idols out of it. All right. And that's why the scriptures talk about not worshiping idols so many times. Okay, because people, they used to do it and they still do it today. Sometimes today people don't even know that's what they're doing, but they do. Okay. Saturn is the secret god of the occult world. Saturn worship is everywhere, from logos to secret societies. And it's just some different logos here that use the planet Saturn. Okay, but that's the point. That's where they got this from. And on the low level, a lot of these cats don't even understand that. So I'm not saying that every one of them actually is fully aware of that. However, those up top 1,000% know that. I promise you that. Okay, the 911 memorial is a black cube. You see? So these things don't come out of nowhere. They have pagan origins. So this further proves that these cannot be the children of Israel, because our people would never do anything like that. The actual children of Israel, I don't like saying actual children of Israel because we just the children of Israel, not the true and actual and all that, but the children of Israel would not do that. All right, because we don't subscribe to pagan deities. You understand? That's against the first commandment. Let's get Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 2.
It's the book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 2. And it reads, again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed to Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones.
Okay, again, a lot of people don't realize how prevalent pagan god worship is. So I like bringing out a lot of these things because, brothers and sisters, even those that we know who we are, you may read something like this and you think, oh, that's just what they used to do. No, that's what was still going on every single day. All right. It says again, thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, whosoever be of the children of Israel or the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech. So what does that mean? I'm actually about to show you. So this is at the so-called World Fair. Okay. This is all Jewish people that you're seeing right here in the 1933 so-called World Fair. Let's see what's going on here. We really don't need the audio. Could y'all hear that?
Yeah, we heard it at first. Huh?
Okay. We don't even need the audio though. It's coming. Let me get full screen. Now you see this? These are the so-called Jewish now. All of them, everybody seeing right now, you see that? That's a child, man. And that's Molech. They sacrifice the children on Molech, man. This is on camera. They dancing around Molech and everything. This is a false god. You understand? This is a false deity that these people are just chilling and dancing and doing all this stuff around. This was in 1933, but you think this went away? You think they don't do this no more? No, this is still going on. A lot of times they just don't, they just don't put it out in the open like they used to, but it's definitely still going on. And a lot of times people say Molech is an owl because of what's that cat's name? The one that just got a $900 million lawsuit. Alex Jones. I don't know why he be saying that, but Molech is definitely not an owl, the owl god. But anyway, the point is, so these ain't the children of Israel, man. All right, as you see, they sacrificing children of Molech, doing all this dance and stuff. Our people would never do that. Okay. Well, I can't say our people would never do that. In righteousness, our people would never do that. The people that you see weren't just a bunch of pagans. These are actual people that still claim to be, the children of the Most High. Let's get Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 2.
It's the book of Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 2. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law.
That's how you forsake. Well, it's like adhering to good doctrine is not forsaking the law. Okay. But as you see, these people are bent on forsaking the law. But they say they're the children of the Most High. They say they're the children of the Torah. That's what they keep. But they do all these ridiculous and man-made doctrines, and they keep them. Again, if that was just a pagan of the people, then I wouldn't wouldn't be able to say that. But we talking about the people that call themselves rabbis. They subscribe to the Talmud. Okay, people that claim to be the higher ups, that's what they subscribe to, man. They do the bar mitzvahs and things of that nature. Even the quote unquote Orthodox Jews, which claim to be the conservative type, they still do all these things that's not actually in the scriptures, man. Let's get Job chapter 11 and verse 4.
It's the book of Job chapter 11 and verse 4, and it reads, For thou hast said, my doctrine is pure, and I am clean in thine eyes.
So the Most High's doctrine is pure. You don't need another book. You don't need pagan idols. You don't need little black cubes strapped around your head. Okay. And where they be buying it? I guess they get that from Amazon, little straps, and just put a little cube in there. And they got a nerve of talking about they put the Torah in there for an ode to a pagan deity. That's an abomination, man. But you don't need all that if you're subscribing to the scriptures, man. All right. Most High's doctrine is pure. This is not purity. Everything we've been seeing on this lesson is not purity. So just to kind of round this out, now you got even more books, man. You got a Zohar. A Zohar is a foundational work in the literature of Jewish mystical thought known as Kabbalah. So I think I mentioned the Kabbalah at the end of the first lesson, I think. It is the group of books including commentary on the mystical aspects of the Torah. What's the mystical aspects of the Torah? When the Most High said we needed a mystical aspect of the Torah, I didn't get that scriptures. The brothers got that? Because I ain't got it. All right. In the scriptural interpretations, as well as materials on mysticism, mythical cosmogony, and mystical psychology. So yeah, man, just going off. They got even more books that's not pure doctrine, man. All right, the Zohar. None of this stuff makes any sense. And let's actually read about the Kabbalah. Oh, this is first publicized in 1240. You read something that's publicized this early on, you know what's going off. This made by this cat, Moses De Leon. I did see something about him earlier. But let's talk about the Kabbalah. So the Kabbalah, and I'm going into this because this is their doctrine. Okay, this is what they subscribe to. So we have to see, does this match up with the scriptures? No, it doesn't. You will not see anything about the Kabbalah in the scriptures. Okay, therefore you should not adhere to it. It says literally, reception to tradition, correspondence is an esoteric method. An esoteric method. When the scriptures tell you to be esoteric, man, discipline or school of thought in Jewish mysticism. A traditional Kabbalist in Judaism is called a Macabre. Okay. So Jewish Kabbalah is a set of esoteric teachings meant to explain the relationship between the unchanging, eternal God. Which God? Not the Most High. The mysterious in soul, in soft, the endless one, the infinite, the mortal, the finite universe in God's creation. So the finite universe, when the Most High tell you to have a separate book breaking down the universe, where is that at? Where is that in the scriptures, man? It forms the foundation of mystical religious interpretations with Judaism. Judaism isn't in the scriptures, so we don't need mystical religious interpretations within Judaism. You see how ridiculous, when you read this stuff, how ridiculous it really is, and millions of people, if not billions, adhere to this. Okay, and they think this is actually a part of the scriptures, and it's really not. It's crazy, man. But you know what? Let's get Genesis chapter 2. We taking it all the way back. Let's get Genesis chapter 2 and verse 9.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 9. And out of the ground made the Most High to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
We know the story. Whether we got the proper understanding of the man Adam or not, but we pretty much know the story. Okay. But there's a point that we need to get here. Let's go to verse 17.
Come on. Verse 17. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die.
Okay, so one thing I just want to say really quick is the word apple is not here in the scriptures. It's not in Genesis chapter 2 or verse 3. All right. And the tree or the fruit was not referring to actual fruit, and this is not an actual tree, meaning a physical tree. It's referring to the doctrines and philosophies like the ones that we've been seeing throughout this lesson. Okay. But anyway, point is that I want to get the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We know we're not supposed to partake in the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Thou shalt not eat of it, meaning you shouldn't consume the doctrines. All right, that's what it means to eat, to consume it, or to take it on into your spirit. For the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. That's what the Most High told the man Adam. Okay, but we know what happened there. But look what these cats do. You got the Kabbalistic tree of life. Okay, the tree of life is a diagram. Let's pull this up. Tree of life is a diagram using Kabbalah and various other mystical traditions. It usually consists of 10 or 11 nodes, symbolizing different archetypes and 22 lines connecting the nodes. Where is this at in the scriptures, man? Where is this Kabbalistic tree of life? Where is this at? Well, at least something to be adhered to. Where is that at? But this is definitely in reference to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's where they got this from. And that's why they adhere to it. So essentially, they want to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Okay, and you see Thelema being associated with this. This is the religion of the world, by the way, if you don't know. Do as thou wilt. Okay, do as thou wilt. That's in Ab-Soul, he made an album called Do As Thou Wilt, showing what he was really about, Ab-Soul. But anyway, it says Western esoteric and occult social and spiritual philosophy. That's where Nike gets do it from. It's really do as thou wilt. But I didn't even come here for Thelema. I was kind of off the cuff. I just noticed that this was attached to that. But the point is that really what they teach in the higher circles of Jewish doctrine is do as thou wilt, in all manners of wickedness. That's why you have George Soros push Black Lives Matter, which ended up, being LGBTQ and all of that on so-called Black people. And you saw the Jewish woman, Mayor Amschel Rothschild, said that she's gonna do away with the nuclear family. Okay, because that's what they believe in. That's why you see so much wickedness on planet Earth, because that's what these people believe in. Eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, meaning the doctrines of this world. Do as thou wilt, embracing the left-hand path, homosexuality, transgenderism, pedophilia, so on and so forth. That's what this is about. Doing what you feel like you want to do, essentially. Well, you can read all this, but this is all nonsense coming down to the same thing. All right, if you ain't hot, you cold. There's nothing in between. We know that from Revelation, the 3rd chapter, verse 16. Okay. Now, last thing, really quickly, we might pull up Revelation. No, we're going to pull up Revelation chapter 3 after this, but you got the Tree of Life Kabbalah bracelet. So if you see these little red bracelets, you'll see, so-called celebrities wearing them, which I got pulled up right here. It says, why do people wear Kabbalah bracelets? Wearing a thin scarlet or crimson string as a type of talisman is a Jewish folk custom. Just letting you know that it's a folk custom, meaning it's not in the scriptures, but which is practiced as a way to ward off misfortune, which is brought about by the evil eye. So, it's all wickedness, man. It's all wickedness. It's all left-hand path energy, man. It says celebrities wear Kabbalah bracelets. So again, pay attention. Be on the lookout for different so-called celebrities you see with this little red string. Just pay attention to it. You'll see a lot of them wear it. And what are they letting you know? That they Kabbalists? Okay, meaning they embrace the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because the other nations, they actually worship Adam and Eve for taking on the left-hand path because they saw that as freedom. Believe it or not, they made gods out of Adam and Eve. Okay, that's how they get down. This is Madonna. She got one. Let's see, who else? Y'all know who that is? I don't know this chick right here. Gwyneth Paltrow. I think I've seen her in a movie or something before. She got on one. Britney Spears. She going through an MK Ultra breakdown nowadays. Lisa Reina, I think I've seen her before. She got it. Ashton Kutcher showing he get down with the program too. Lindsay Lohan, Disney asset, Demi Moore. But look at this. Your boy Lil Wayne will one. So I don't think it's just a so-called white thing, because it's not. They all embrace it. It's, when you get in this circle, you pretty much all part of the same cult. Angelina Jolie. So, that's how they get down. I said I'll pull Revelation 3 to kind of close this out. So let's get it. Let's get Revelation chapter 3, verse 15 and 16.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 15. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou wert cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth.
So don't think everything that we went over is just a misinterpretation or it's just a private interpretation of the scriptures. That's just how they view it. No, that's not how this works. All right, either you're on fire, you stick into the scriptures, all right, with pure doctrine, or you a part of the left-hand path. There's no in between. And when you really start to embrace that and understand that, you start to see how much of the world is really engulfed into satanic energy, demonic doctrines, so on and so forth. And that's what these people subscribe to. And that's the whole point of this lesson anyway. The so-called Jewish are not the children of Israel. And we're going to continue to prove that through their different customs, through their works, all right, through their warpath throughout history. And we haven't even got on, the so-called race aspect of it. That lets you know that there's so much going on here that you can prove that they are not the children of Israel. But, until the next time, I bid y'all a mighty shalom.